is obsessed with rice water, but after using it for years, let me share what's actually going to do to your hair. So I actually have tons of videos on rice water, and I'll link the playlist about rice water at the end of this video, but a brief intro about rice water. Rice water is most popularly known from its place of origin in China, from the Yao women. I believe that they have the best recipe, they make it the best way, but different cultures around the world, including Japan, have also used their own versions of rice water. It is amazing for hair growth because it has so many different benefits and there's so many different ways you can use it. There is the regular plain rice water, which you can use immediately straight after you use it, and then there's the fermented rice water that you can ferment for a minimum of 5 to 7 days for maximum results. In my personal opinion, the fermented rice water is so much better. Rice water is also full of amino acids, B vitamins, which are called the beauty vitamins because they're great for skin and hair, and also inositol. The reason why I like the fermented one is because all these ingredients, including the inositol, become a lot more concentrated in the fermented version. So let's get into how to make it. We are starting with half a cup of rice, and then this is a full cup. It doesn't matter how much water it is. We are just washing the rice. I didn't want to go to the sink, so I'm just showing you here. As you can tell, this rice is pretty clean, and of course, if you feel your rice is completely clean and you don't want to wash it, you don't need to wash it. And then I pour the leftover back into the same cup, and then I like to use the water that I used to wash the rice to water any plants that are in the house, just because I'm sure there's a little bit of nutrients in that water. So now I'm using this Pyrex dish, and the reason why is because I'm going to be using hot water, not boiling water, but it's going to be hot. So I would advise you use glass or metal. Do not use plastic, but if it's the only thing you have, you can go ahead and use that. So now I'm going to be adding 3 full cups of distilled warm water. This is just boiled in the kettle, and it has been sitting for a while, so it's hot enough to touch you without burning you. So the reason why I put the hot water is because it softens the rice and allows me to get a lot of the nutrients out of the rice without actually boiling it. I usually like to go by the Yao women's recipe, and I do every single thing that they do except for boiling the rice, because I know that different types of nutrients can get denatured once you boil them. So I find that using hot water is just the closest we can get. And now for one of the ingredients that makes it extremely powerful, I'm going to be adding fresh rosemary sprigs. Now, this is just a big rosemary bush that's outside my house, and I'm taking about 7 sprigs of it. Now, you can find rosemary in your local health store or in the spices section or the herb section. You should be able to find it there. But if you don't find it there, you can go ahead and check in the spices section where there's dry spices, and you might find some dry rosemary. You can use 2 to 3 tablespoons of dry rosemary. And if you don't have any rosemary, don't worry. We'll get back into how you can incorporate it later on in the video. So now I'm going to take those same rosemary sprigs that have been sitting in the water, and I'm pouring them into a glass jar. Again, you can use whatever container that you have access to, but the best option is a glass jar. And be more careful than me and don't spill the water all over. It should close completely airtight. If it's not airtight, your rice water is going to go bad and you'll be wondering what you did wrong. It's because the air is going in. So there, what you saw me doing is making sure that I push all the rosemary down, because if there's any rosemary that's exposed to the air, it can also mold. So any little bits that seem to be like right at the surface, I am completely covering them with the grapefruit peels with no inside completely. And look how nice and fancy and bougie that looks. So now what I do is I put it in the cupboard for 24 hours to ferment for a little bit and for the rice to expand and release all its beautiful antioxidants. And as you can see, you can tell it's been like a little fermented because it's got like a little bubbles. When you shake it, you can see that's like the fermentation happening. So what I'm doing right now is taking out the grapefruit peels and the rosemary sprigs, but I am not throwing them away. Right now, what I'm doing is getting all the nutrients out of the rice. So now I'm pouring it back into the same container that we used before, because now we are getting to one of the most important parts to make sure you have extremely effective rice water. Now, a lot of people at this stage would prefer to boil it to make you get all the white color, and make it look super starchy like milk. But for me, I just like to knead the rice either in one hand or rub it between my palms. I find that it is way faster if I just rub it between both of my palms. And what this is doing is causing friction between the rice, breaking the rice into smaller pieces. And while this is happening, you are releasing all the antioxidants and the starches, which is what makes it look more white. But that's how you get more nutrients. You don't have to blend this up and make like a rice conditioner, because even if the grains of rice are already blended and it's like a conditioner conditioner consistency, it still can't absorb into your hair because the particles are just going to be too big. So it's actually pretty much a waste of time. So now it's time to pour it back into the same glass jar, which I washed, as you can see. And now I'm using a strainer, and then I'm just mixing it up perfectly to make sure that the particles are evenly distributed in the rice water before I pour it down the funnel and also into the strainer to make sure it catches all the little bits of rice that are in there. Because now that we've kneaded the rice, we have got all the nutrients out of the rice that we need. We do not need that anymore. If you want to cook it, you can cook it. I would not advise it because I think it would taste bad. But if you want to make use out of it, if you have any plants, it's like a natural fertilizer. You can just put the rice in the soil, and that's going to make sure that you make use out of the rice that you have. So now that it's done, as you can see, even with this wooden spoon, I'm using the end of it. When I mix it into the rice water, you cannot see the stem unless I put it towards the glass. So that's how you know that you have perfect rice water. So now we are putting back the rosemary and the grapefruit peels back into the rice water to continue fermenting. We don't need the rice anymore, but we still need to get the benefits out of this, including the absorbing of the smell and releasing of all the amazing benefits of rosemary. I have tons of videos on rosemary, so you can check that out. So now it has been fermenting for 5 days, and this is what it looks like. Everything sort of settles to the bottom, so once you shake it up, you'll be able to actually see that the rice water is still all nice and milky, and this is the point when it's ready to use. I like to cap it at 5 days to remove everything out, and then if I want to continue fermenting it, I would just leave it to ferment without putting back any more rosemary or anything like that. So now you can see it doesn't look bad, it doesn't look moldy even up close to the camera. It just looks like maybe it changed a little bit of color because it has been sitting in water for 5 days. So once I take all that out, I am now going to decant what I'm going to use, and I only fill my bottle up about 3/4 ways, and then I put in distilled water to finish it up because it is extremely potent after the fermentation process. And now let's talk about the good, the bad, and the unexpected. On the good side, the hair is instantly stronger. Like after one use, you can tell it really strengthens the hair. A lot of people say it's like a really heavy protein treatment, but it's not. It's the starch that makes your hair feel hard. It does have a little bit of protein, but it's not like a crazy amount. That hard, coarse feeling that you get in your hair, especially if you don't use the fermented version, it's mostly just the starch from the rice, okay? But it will strengthen your hair and help improve the elasticity of the individual hair strands, which is what makes the hair strands feel stronger. The hair shaft also feels so much smoother. Even the liquid in itself has this very like smooth, slippery feeling to it. Again, specifically with the fermented version, this is what adds a lot more slip to the hair. Now let's talk about the bad. The bad side, I'd say, is if you leave it in your hair for too long, it can leave your hair with that like dry, brittle feeling. So I suggest a maximum of 20 minutes under heat, and then 30 minutes if you don't have any heat. A max of 1 hour if it works for your hair, but then rinse it out. I've heard certain people leave it in their hair, like they don't even rinse it out at all until they wash their hair again. If that works for you and your hair feels perfectly fine, then you can go ahead and do that. But if you get that like dry, brittle sort of feeling, like it feels like it doesn't really work for you, try only leaving it in your hair for about 20 minutes and you might notice that it works so much better and the results are so much better, and also you get to wash your hair quicker so you don't have a prolonged wash day. The other bad side is bad, not personally for me, but a lot of people do not like the smell of the fermented rice water, but you can always mask that by using some essential oils. But for some people, even with essential oils, they still find that the smell is a little strong. For me, I don't mind it. I think it's perfectly fine, but I also don't have the best sense of smell. And also I wash it out of my hair, and I use a deep conditioner and other products that make my hair feel really nice and smell really nice. So it doesn't make a difference to me. As for the unexpected, I would say you can get great results with very little uses. I know a lot of people are like, use rice water every single day, use it once a week. But honestly, even once or twice a month is still going to give you great results. So it's not like one of those things you have to do every other day. And so I like products where if I have to add an additional step to my wash day routine, if I don't have to do it that often and still get great results, I go ahead and do it. Now, after all this time, am I still using it? And are there any other alternatives? I still use it occasionally, but the reason why I'm not consistent with it is because honestly, I just forget. I have a lot of things to do. I will have it stored in the fridge and I just forget it's there. So my personal alternative that I recommend to most people is to find a product that already has rice water infused in it Briogeo has a bunch of products with rice water. I think Mael Organics or Camille Rose also has a rice water line. The one I personally use is Viori. They have a shampoo bar and a conditioner bar. It's actually infused with rice water, specifically taken from the Yao women in China. And I use that especially when I'm washing my hair in a protective style. It works really well. I will link all the options I've mentioned in the description box below as well, so you can check that out if you want to purchase it. And just a reminder, as I said, because you don't have to use it often, it is a great treatment, but it's not a daily use product. Even if you have the time and you want to use it every day, just use it at least once a week. I'm curious to know if you have ever tried rice water in your hair. What happened when you used it? And if you have any other hacks or like rice water fails, please leave them in the comment section below. I would love to see them. Thank you so much for watching. Hit my face right there to subscribe if you didn't in the beginning. Hit the bell so you get notifications every single time I post. Watch the rice water playlist here for other rice water videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.